We're good. Okay, welcome everybody. Today is Wednesday, March 15th. And I will call the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Myself, Commissioner Hall, and Commissioner Miller are all here, so we do have a full quorum. First, we're going to start with recognition and proclamation. We are going to be proclaiming March 29th as Vietnam War Veterans Day and March 30th as Welcome Home Day in Lincoln County. And I think Keith Barnes maybe has a presentation or something.
Well, just
Wants to say something?
a few words, if I may.
Sure. Introduce yourself for the record, please, Keith.
Keith Barnes, Lincoln County Veteran Service Officer. I want to thank the board and Mr. Johnson for assisting me in putting this proclamation together. As we know, March 29th, 1973 was the withdrawal of combat troops from Vietnam, and that was proclamation in 2016 indicating that March 29th, March 29th is Vietnam Memorial Day, and March 30th in the state of Oregon is identified as Welcome Home Day. For me personally, and for a Lincoln County resident, I wanted to say welcome home to my uncle, Larry Barnes. He was a graduate of Taft High School in 1961, was in the United States Navy from October 25th, 1961 to February 16th, 1966. And he served aboard the USS Constellation and was awarded the Vietnam Service Medal as well. He passed away about 3 years ago from service-connected Agent Orange exposure. And so I want to say welcome home to him. I'd like to thank the individuals in the audience today that came out. We have some Purple Heart Award recipients. We have some Bronze Star recipients. And it is just an honor to be able to welcome them home here to Lincoln County.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got choked up.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, would you mind standing, please, just for a moment?
Yeah, want to introduce themselves? Or just...
And would you like to introduce yourselves? Let's just go front to back.
Yes, my name's Tony Molina, and I am the president of the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 411 since 1988. You should get a gold watch. Huh?
Yeah.
I'm glad the rest are here and they'll introduce themselves. I'm Bob Wilson and a member of the VFW and Select. Rod Cornelius, resident of Lincoln County since 1973. John Reed, retired DSO. Retired from the Navy in '94, came to Oregon sight unseen, and been there ever since. 30 years in the Navy, and 13 of those 30 were with the Marines in Vietnam and other places. John Derby, member of the VFW and Selects. I'm Jim Beisman, I'm a member of the VFW and Toledo.
Tom Ang, Vietnam 61, 62 exploratory forces.
Richard Adams, 3rd Infantry, and I was in the back station, Washington, D.C. in the old guard, 73.
Richard Berg,
50 calibers, 65 and shooting 7.
Rick Booth, 72 to 99, retired as Chief Warrant Officer, served in Vietnam from 72 to 75, was actually with the evacuation, they evacuated Saigon in 75.
Wow.
And I'm on VFW Wallport and OCVA, Oregon Coast Veterans Association.
Thank you.
Thank you.
we're the new greatest generation.
Exactly.
We're ready to breathe, Claire?
Yes.
Yes.
It is a privilege and honor to read the proclamation we'll be adopting. Whereas the date March 29th is recognized nationally as Vietnam Veterans Day, it commemorates the date of the end of combat forces in Vietnam. Whereas March 29th, 2023 is the 50th anniversary of the end of combat operations in Vietnam. Whereas the date March 30th is recognized as Welcome Home Day in the state of Oregon. Whereas 16 Lincoln County residents served in the military that perished in Vietnam. and are remembered at the Vietnam Memorial Walkway in Newport. Whereas the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners and Lincoln County continues to support Vietnam veterans and all veterans in Lincoln County. Whereas not all Vietnam veterans were welcomed home with the vigor and respect that other wartime service members were welcome home. Be it resolved, we, on behalf of all Lincoln County residents, express our deep gratitude to all of those who served so selflessly in Vietnam. Be it finally resolved that we welcome you home with heartfelt and profound appreciation for your service.
Yes, yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Deep respect. I only have one question, Madam Chair. Forgive me, the Bronze Star. What does that symbolize? I know what the Purple Heart is, but
Bronze Star symbolizes that during operations under combat or severe stress exemplified themselves beyond that of a standard soldier at the time. If I'm correct, we do have a Bronze Star or two recipients in here. Mr. Reed, Mr. Berg. And I've been working with Mr. Molina here, trying to get his record to reflect what he so righteously deserves as a for his time that occurred when in Vietnam.
thank you.
All the best.
Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
thank you, everybody, for being here today. Really nice to see all of you and just appreciate you coming and for all of your service. Much appreciated.
You honor us with your presence.
Yeah,
do.
absolutely.
Thank you.
I have a son that's in the U.S. Army active duty right now, and it's kind of the first family member I've had in the military, and it's a really interesting thing to have your kid
Mm,
in the military and be a part of that. And we're looking forward to actually after 4 years during COVID and only seeing him once, having him home in July for 10 days. So we're really looking forward to having him home before he
wow.
goes off to wherever he's going next, but happy to have him back. So we still need a motion on the order.
Okay.
Commissioner Miller, maybe you want to make that?
Yes, I would move that we proclaim March 29th as Vietnam War Veterans Day and March 30th as Welcome Home Day in Lincoln County.
And I'll second the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Thank you. And as a reminder, I do have cakes out in the foyer.
Cupcakes.
Hey.
Wow, you're welcome anytime. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you so much.
You know, I like to add some.
Sure, yeah.
As Claire was mentioning, we have the Lincoln County Vietnam Veterans Memorial here in Newport, and it took a lot of work to get that accomplished, and a lot of meetings with the city council way back. And they allowed it to be built, right? We just encourage so many people here in Lincoln County don't know it even exists. It's kind of sad, but I just wanted to invite you guys to go to the Don Davis Park. I forgot his wife's name.
And
And it's just south of the gazebo. So we just encourage everyone to walk it. And I'm fortunate they published my poem that's on the wall there. And I just thank all my brother Vietnam veterans for responding and being here today. Thank you.
Thank
thanks,
you.
Tony. Thanks,
Madam
everybody.
Chair, just one quick question for Tony. Tony, Field of Flags was a real powerful display. Is that ever coming back to us? Or-
I think we had that honor for about 14 years between Lincoln City and Newport. And unfortunately, it sort of curbaged,
Okay.
if that's the correct word.
Well, thanks.
So it won't be
for
coming
telling
back.
that.
And there's no more room at Chinook Winds to place it. And
Okay.
in South Beach, we did it once. But it was It was a great honor to bring that
Yeah.
to Lincoln County all them years
Yeah.
and a lot of work.
Oh,
And now we're old. We couldn't pound in 1,000 flags.
Well, thanks for your work on that, Tony.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay,
Any other question?
I don't have it. Thank you.
Thanks.
all right. Thank you again for all of our veterans for being here. You're welcome to stay through the rest of the meeting. You might find it a little bit boring, but you're welcome to be here. But if you don't stay till the end, just a big thank you for coming today.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to our consent calendar. These are items of a routine nature. Either commissioners or staff can pull something for further discussion or information. I do believe, at least on our printed copy we have in our packets, we did have a change, and that is Lincoln County Health Council application for Dr. Cornish under documents and recording matters in the Commission Journal. That has been removed. The online version shows that being removed, but in our printed packets, it's still there. So we would want to adopt this minus that particular one.
Okay. I have nothing to pull. Would move that we adopt the consent calendar with those changes noted.
I'll second that
All right,
motion.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that carries. All right, moving on to decision and action. We have fiscal year 2022-2023 economic development grant recommendations presented by County Administrator Johnson. We had Economic Development Director and Administrator Johnson present this to us, I think, last week.
Mm.
Well, two meetings ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tempo.
Sorry. New tempo. Yep. And so as what we try to do is we talk at one meeting and then bring it back at a following meeting.
Yeah.
For adoption. And so this is to make a decision. Any changes from what was presented previously?
Well, thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Tim Johnson, County Administrator. First and foremost, a great shout out to Paul Schutema and the Economic Development Alliance, Lincoln County, for helping on this. Would much appreciated, and thank him for that. I just quickly want to go back and review something. We spent considerable time, Commissioner Jacobson, and I spent time going through some pre-screening that we had looked at early on relative to the fact that we needed to make sure that future candidates, applicants, I should say, did not owe the county any money. That was a key issue moving forward. Second thing is that all nonprofits were in good stead with the state as it pertained to permitting and all those that fell into that category, certainly did. So those were some key movements moving forward. Within the context of this, just of the applications, I wanted to share with you, there's some exciting programs. One of them comes from the owner of Local Ocean to create a new program, a food program in the county, which is quite dynamic. Another organization that you may have heard of called Reinvent Rural is also initiating an exciting program for concepts, business concepts for pre-development of businesses. So that's an exciting one. As it pertains to, just to make sure that you understand, we're still reviewing everything that went through on this, is that as it pertained to that last one with Reinvent Rural, we explained to them they do not need a financial intermediary because they're from outside the county to provide their services in the county, and as such we'll work directly with them. So that's the only issue, that everything is approved as you see, recommended, I should say, as approved to you. And I'll take any questions. And if
ahead.
Paul's online,
Yeah.
Madam
certainly
Chair,
turn to him.
Administrator Johnson, Madam Chair, I just would add to, we did not receive any input in regard to this that I'm aware of, none today, as you'll see later in constituent input, but I received none in regard to this over the last couple of weeks. So just a note.
Yeah, a couple of notes I was going to make is I think all the printed copies of the applications are in our packets. Not all of those were funded. There were actually one that was redacted by the applicant. So just keep that in mind. The other thing I wanted to point out is, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, the board at the time decided to pull some money out of that kind of, or traditionally larger funding pool for this, and focus on either a housing, childcare, or broadband project. And this year, that larger kind of pot of money, which is $60,000, it's going towards the pre-development phase of a housing project. So just wanted to point that out. That's pretty
Nice.
exciting.
Yeah.
If passed, it will be awarded to Northwest Coastal Housing for a potential project, affordable housing project in Toledo. So
Yeah.
great to see that.
Yeah, and I think that was a good idea to give some more traction there, right?
Any additional comments, Commissioner Hall? Anything?
Yes. I like this group of projects. One thing that we have always sought to do with this fund is not only fund good projects, but also to get a wide geographic distribution of the funding if possible. It strikes me there's a lot of innovation in here and kind of really sensitivities toward taking advantage of some of the changes in society, such as offering access to CTE programs, bilingual training, installation of the first electric vehicle charging stations in Toledo. To put it, how can I sum it up? Lots of good stuff.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I would just add thanks to Paul Skidema and Administrator Johnson and your work as well.
Mhm.
It's been tight on staffing, but they pitched in and really helped us get
They
across
did
the
a great
finish
job.
line.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
Madam Chair, I'd move that we approve the fiscal year 22-23 economic development grant recommendations as submitted to us.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Thank you. Next up on decision action is grant contract for fuel tank at Highland Tower site. And I think this is a sheriff's office project. But I don't see anybody from the sheriff's office here. Is there anybody online maybe? Let's check before we move on. No, okay, well, let's just table this.
Okay.
We'll see if someone shows up and we can come back to it. And if not, we'll move it on to another week.
Thank you.
I was very excited to actually hear that this project is done. I guess I'll have to wait another week. That's all right. Okay, moving on to discussion and information. First up is Crowley Creek Bridge, and I think Roy Kenyon is going to present.
Good morning, Roy.
Good morning, Commissioners,
Good morning, Roy.
Administrator Johnson.
Mr. Kenyon.
What I bring to you this morning are two agreements that I'm hoping to get signed by the board. They're the typical boilerplate ODOT agreements, and what we're looking at is entering into an agreement for two bridge projects. And both projects are total replacement of the structure. This first agreement is for design only, with then a second agreement coming later for actual construction. As always, the county's participation in these projects is on the dollar side, 10.27%. That is standard match money. The Crowley Creek Bridge is actually on Three Rocks Road in North County. It is the only bridge on the road, and it's within a stone's throw of Knight Park. So it's almost out at the end of Three Rocks Road in the Cascade Head area. It's a small, narrow bridge. It is deficient, and it is time for it to be replaced. The second bridge is North Beaver Creek number 2. It's a little larger bridge, a little more remote. And it's actually a load posted bridge. So it is a little more deficient than the first bridge. Because these are coming at the same time, ODOT has asked us, and we've given permission to actually bundle the two projects. And so there's an assumed cost savings because these two projects, well, even though they're two different bridges, they will be treated as a single project. I already have money in the current budget to cover these matches. My plan is to carry that money over till the next budget year, so 23-24. The design work will start in the next budget year. There isn't anything saying that it will actually be finished in the budget year. Like I said, at some point in time, when the design is done, we will enter into a new agreement for construction. At that point in time, our match will also be 10.27%. The dollar figures, of course, are going to be a little larger because we're actually talking about the construction, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Okay, that's a little flat. Good thing that it's people in the audience.
I thought it was.
Jim, are you gonna let him get away with that?
So anyway, like I said, it's boilerplate language. The only thing that maybe might be of interest is if in some case that there's actually an overrun in the cost of the engineering, the county is responsible for that difference. For the most part, that doesn't happen. Usually where the overruns come in is actually in construction through
Materials.
change orders. And I'm not going to say any more about that down the road. But so anyway, so I'm looking for your agreement, permission and signatures for those two IGAs. And also timeline, basically this will start this next budget year. So it'll start in the 23-24. It may finish up in the 24-25. I'm guessing on the way these things come together, the construction will most likely be in the summer of 26. So we're still a couple budget cycles out.
Okay,
Is this a time sensitive issue? Like, do we need to pass this today or?
No,
Okay,
it is not.
well, I just have to say, I think it's a great deal that for
Mhm.
10.27% of the cost, we get a bridge. That's
Yeah,
great.
it's really the only way that we can afford to do this. So it is a very good program. And just for your information, we are currently in design for bridge replacement on South Beaver Creek #2.
Oh, okay.
That's been a project that's been in the works for quite a while. Because ODOT, who delivers these projects for us, could not actually come to an agreement with the initial engineering firm and had to go to #2. And so that actually delayed things. But we are in the midst of design with actual construction of that bridge being in the summer of 24.
Okay, any questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair, just a quick question for Roy. Roy, I was at AOC several weeks ago on a public work session. They were foreshadowing criteria for analysis of bridge safety. Do you see that in the future? Am I in the ballpark that changes may be coming that will make things more burdensome for us to evaluate our bridges, or am I even in the?
No,
ballpark?
I actually don't.
Okay.
Because actually, when you talk about evaluating our bridges are on a routine inspection, and that inspection is actually handled by a contractor who is working for Federal Highway. We do with in-house, we go out and we do routine inspections, but we do not go to the extent of tapping on every pile, tapping on every cap. Doing borings, the extensive stuff. We do the stuff that's visual,
Okay.
if anything has changed along with some maintenance. Like I said, it's done by a contractor that does that work. So I don't see that being any more burdensome on us.
Okay.
Now, it may be more burdensome on the contractors that are doing the work, but I don't see that actually falling to us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any
No
other
other
questions,
questions?
Commissioner Hall?
nope.
No, okay. So we will go ahead and bring this back, not next week because we're not meeting. So I guess it would be April. Is that
Mhm.
gonna work for you?
That'll work.
Okay,
April 5th.
yeah, April 5th is our
Okay.
next meeting.
Okay.
And while you're there, why don't we just skip right to D and do declaring certain county-owned vehicles? surplus?
Okay, yeah, this is just a housekeeping issue.
Mhm.
Okay,
As county fleet actually ages, they're on a turnover program. And we have 3 patrol cars that are basically, I don't want to say they're at their end of their use, but they're at the end of serving the purpose that they were serving. And so they are on the chopping block this year. There's,
Okay.
there's already replacements in the works and that money is already part of the
Mhm.
vehicle replacement fund. And so really all I need is permission to declare it surplus. There's an order that comes from the board.
Okay.
And then we advertise that on a government auction site. Say we use the same one every year.
Yeah.
We actually get pretty good return on our money. The site's gov.deals.
Gov.deals. Okay.
Mhm.
And Madam Chair for Roy, this is often just in consent. I think it's so routine.
It really
Yeah.
is.
Mhm.
There's times when we're actually surplusing something that maybe is not at the end of its life. Maybe
Mhm.
there's some other reason for it.
We did do a police dog. I remember that. It's a little different. Yes, we did.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So even though it's, like I
Dog
said,
does
it's
not go to
housekeeping and
gov.deals,
it's
yeah.
boilerplate stuff. Sometimes there's a little twist that
Yeah.
is nice to know about. And that,
Surplus
yeah,
the
the
dog.
dog thing
We
was, real.
The
yeah.
dog was not on gov.deals. just so
Okay.
We did have an
Right.
alternative process. for
Yeah,
that.
and so, yeah, there'll need to be a board order. And then as soon as that's done, we'll get that to fleet manager. And you'll get them listed.
All right, so let's put that on consent. We
Okay.
have consensus for that.
Sure.
I don't think we need to make a decision.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right, so on consent in April. All right, thanks, Roy. Appreciate
bet.
it.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to be transfer agreement of 117 North Yodel to Habitat for Humanity.
Yes.
And I think we have Lucinda Taylor, Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity,
Excellent.
coming, and Lucinda and myself will kind of present this together. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can
Morning.
you state your name for the record, please?
Lucinda Taylor, Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity of Lincoln County.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here. So this is something Lucinda and I and many other partners have been working on. So a few months ago, Lincoln County received funding from the Oregon Housing and Community Services. It was called the Direct Allocation Spend for us to acquire property that would ultimately go to wildfire survivors. At the time, we were told we had to spend out this money, which is about $1.9 million by the end of this fiscal year. So we definitely had a timeline to meet. And so we purchased this property, 117 North Yodel, which is a new manufactured home on a piece of property that did have a destroyed home from the wildfire, but was rebuilt. This is a brand new manufactured home, and our plan is to donate that to Habitat for Humanity. And then working through Community Services Consortium, who in our contract is the agency who has to qualify wildfire survivors. They would help Lucinda qualify those people. We have a interest form that I believe is almost ready, or maybe sitting in my inbox ready. That would go out to people that are qualified. They would fill out this form, and then we will pull some names out of a hat, and they will work with Lucinda on her qualifying them for a mortgage, because this will be a home ownership opportunity at an affordable rate. So that is the plan. Lucinda, is there anything else you wanted to add or things I missed?
That mostly covers it. I guess just to clarify that this home will be permanently affordable. We will retain ownership of the land. There will be a deed restriction that the home can only be sold to low income families into perpetuity, which means 80% AMI or lower. And that the mortgage will be calculated based on 30% of gross annual income for the qualified family.
Yeah.
So Commissioner, could I just add, so if you turn, Council Yule, if you turn to tab 21, there's a draft agreement that we have provided in the past with Habitat. So in conjunction with the deed that will follow, under ORS 271-330, the county is authorized to donate, property acquired through tax foreclosure to qualified nonprofit corporations, provided they use it for low
Yeah,
income
and this is
housing.
not a tax foreclosure, but
No, this was
Yeah.
not.
Mhm.
But for low income purposes, there, and Ms. Taylor indicated what the criteria will be for the qualifying families. And so there will be deed restrictions on the property that it has to be used for low income families.
No other questions from me?
Comments?
Yeah, Commissioner. Hall? Yeah.
Well, I'm absolutely thrilled to see this happening. You know, as the state confronts its horrendous affordable and workforce housing shortage, the big focus has been on creating multifamily developments, but I'm glad they're not losing sight entirely of the need for home ownership opportunities for the right people. I think we all know home ownership can be an excellent, maybe the best wealth building opportunity for a low income family. And, you know, I'm also really glad to hear is that some Habitat chapters or all who have now adopted the permanent affordability model that the land trust model introduced.
So more and more affiliates across Oregon are adopting that model. It's an
Mhm.
independent decision of
Okay.
each board for each affiliate. More and more are doing that primarily, I will say, to take advantage of LIFT funding through the state. It's a very nice match, that funding, with land that has been donated by maybe the county in Garden State and is currently under development. So it's a really great opportunity for us to secure some funding to help build those homes more quickly. We would definitely not be as far along on our Garden Estates build right now if we didn't have those LIFT funds. So
Mhm.
other affiliates are taking advantage of that as well. It just makes sense. The
Mhm.
resources that are entrusted to us, instead of going to one family who then after some time can sell that home on the open market, now it's no longer affordable housing. This model makes sure that that doesn't happen, that we increase the inventory of affordable housing rather than just adding to it temporarily.
Yeah, very much so.
Well, thanks for all your work on this. I know how mission driven you are, Madam Chair, and every little bit helps. So right on. And thank you to legal counsel as well. I know everybody's been pitching in. Lucinda,
Yes.
does Habitat have an operations? Is this known position or am I letting the cat out of the bag?
No, actually, it just has gone out this week. We opened a director of operations position. This is a capacity building move. Our goal is to build more homes per year and serve more families, increase how quickly we're adding to that affordable housing inventory. So we just published our director of operations position. If anyone knows anyone who wants to work in the field and help us serve more low income families, move them into homeownership, send them our way.
Can I ask, what kind of qualifications are you looking for from the person who fills that position?
We're gonna do some advertising for you.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. So we're looking for someone with some leadership skills. They will provide direction for our restores they'll be the
Mhm.
reporting route for our restores, for our fundraising and development arm, for homeowner services. So we need some pretty good leadership skills, as well as project management. They'll be helping us to bring on new programs. Like we're partnering with Habitat Oregon to provide individual development accounts here in Lincoln County for homeowner down payments and home repair savings. So they'll need to be able to manage programs. We're looking for a lot. We don't expect them to have every qualification. It'd be great if they had some experience in real estate or home ownership or that kind of area, but we can certainly train for that. We're hoping to find bicultural, bilingual, Spanish speaking. We are lacking that on our staff, so that is a preferred qualification on this job. Really someone who can take care of nitty gritty, attention to detail, making sure we remain in compliance with all of the local, state, federal, and Habitat International requirements that we need to meet to be able to continue our operations. The goal is to take on a lot of what I do so that I can focus on community partnerships, larger grants, fundraising, major donors, that kind of thing, to increase our revenue to build more.
No.
Wonderful.
Well,
All
yeah.
right. Thank you for
We
that.
find someone great. And I just wanted to say a big thank you. There's been many phone calls to Lucinda over the past several months saying, can you take a lot? Can you take a house? Can you take 2 houses? What do you have capacity to do? So thank you so much for doing this for us. I'm really looking forward to getting to the part where we get to give this to a family. That'll be exciting.
It will be exciting. This will move more quickly than our typical build, obviously. So this is a nice yeah, it's such a boost. That's the big part when you get to hand it over to the
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
And I would just like to say thank you, Commissioner Jacobson, for your focus and efforts on wildfire recovery, securing these funds in the first place, and then finding the channels and the partners and bringing everyone to the table to help make it happen in a timely manner. Timely being as soon as the funding became available at the state level, right?
Yes.
Definitely appreciate your efforts in the recovery. arena.
Yes,
So
indeed.
my pleasure.
Second that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
thank you.
All right. So I think bring this back in April as well.
Yeah, April 5th.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, back in April. Last up is ARPA funding amendment presented by County Administrator Johnson. And
He's back.
that is American Rescue Plan Act.
Chair Commissioners, Tim Johnson. Turn to tab 19.
You can also work out with it.
Yeah, you sure can. And so what we have before you today is continued amendments request for the American Rescue Plan allocation. Today before you is a recommendation of a total of $88,726.52. The amended request is for 3 items. First one is for network switches for the sheriff's office, which you had originally approved at $55,000, just to show you what inflation has been doing, what we wound up with. And I want to thank all of the county staff that worked on this diligently, because they really moved on it once you gave them the approval and were in the front door with it. But as so many things occurred, supply timelines and things of that nature constituted sitting in abeyance while they were trying to get these network switches taken care of, and as such raised the price. So we need an increase on that to $63,726.52, which is basically $8,726.52. So that's one key element. The second one is, I'm going to age all of us. It was January of 2022. I wasn't even working for you at this point, but I made an overture to you to say, I'll show you how I write a grant. And we said, okay, let's go look and see how we can get grants for looking at this courthouse building and looking at 3 technical directions. It was approved. It's number 1 on the grant item. Unfortunately, Governor Brown at the time did not put it in her budget. It wasn't initiated until Governor Kotek did it. And we have now been informed by the State Department of Justice, which is the progenitor of this grant money, that it is now available for our procurement, and we need to show the match. The intention at the time from all of you was that you were going to use ARPA money as that match. So we've now come full circle over this period of time and can initiate that with this action if you approve it today. One that I'm really excited about is one that I spent considerable time with our surveyor and understanding satellite imagery. How cool is this? Looking at the county from space and drilling down into it. The surveyor's office, and particularly Eli Adam, has done a significant job. I'm really proud of them, and I hope that you understand what I'm about to express, is that he has actually developed what will become the first sustaining public-private partnership in the history of this county, working to initiate with funding that comes from the work that Chair Jacobson has done on the acquisition of funds for fire restoration. I hope I'm correct in that terminology, Commissioner.
Fire recovery.
Fire
We don't want
recovery.
to restore fire. We-
Yeah. Fire recovery, along with allocation of what would be an additional 25,000 here for, I believe that is $55,000. That gets the whole county photoed. I think that makes sense, by satellite. He will then use that as a mechanism, because the surveyor's office gets these inquiries from our jurisdictions, other districts, and private entity, particularly those engaged in utilities for power and communication. And he has worked out an ability to be able to charge that back. And that is just a phenomenal opportunity. I haven't seen this in all of my years of service, so I tip my hat to this, and I think this is exactly the kind of leverage that that the intention of Congress was looking for from a local jurisdiction on this creativity. So I hope that you appreciate that. Again, kudos to our surveyor and his team on putting this together. So again, before you today is a recommendation of a approval of $88,726.52 from the local fiscal recovery fund of ARPA. And as a point to all of you, this leaves us in the finance director and myself and our grant coordinator all looked at this. We are still remaining $3.7 million. Now, we had some kind of indication that it was 2.9, but I think in part that was what I call angler math. Angler math. That's where you cast your line and you hook something and you try to get just a basis of how much you actually got
Is that the
left.
same as back of the envelope, Matt?
Yeah,
Or
or cowboy math.
Cowboy math.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, Yeah. exactly. So having said that, I think that's good news. It's always great to know exactly where you're at and what you all are looking for. So with that, I'll take any questions.
I don't have a question about what's being proposed here. I think it's all good stuff. I think the leveraging the surveyor's office on both ARPA funds and wildfire recovery money, but then also a path forward for the next time, because you'll be surprised. 24 months or 36 months
Mhm.
difference is huge in
Yes.
this county from an aerial survey perspective. A lot happens with development. A lot can happen with geology.
Mhm.
On that point of time. So it's really important to have those maps updated. So no questions about what's presented. I was just going to say with the remaining balance, it looks like we have in American Rescue Plan Act dollars. I would just say, I think it's time for commissioners to put some thought into some additional, projects, whether those are county-driven projects or community-focused projects. I have some ideas. I'll probably be writing up in the next few weeks and presenting sometime in April. So I just think it's time that we maybe think about that remaining balance. and
Definitely.
Make some plans or have some
Mhm.
discussion on that. So
I thank you for that because as you know,
Yeah.
the end is
the end
creeping
is near,
near.
people. We gotta find a plan. Yeah.
And as such, if you'd like a workshop to go through that, again, we've updated the three entities, myself, the finance director, and our grants coordinator, updated the chart that you see before Mhm.
So
you. The
that's
three
great.
are identified that were here before today are highlighted for you, so you can see those. But you see all of those that have been brought forward, current as of the most latest presentations that we had to you back in December. If you recall, for childcare and for winter sheltering, that was the
Mm-hmm.
last time we went through this at length. And then now we have this one. And look forward to future direction from you on the
Yeah,
remaining use.
And we're not giving it back to the federal government.
we are
So
not.
do need to come
Remind
up
me,
with a plan.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Could you remind us of when the spend out date deadline is? Yeah, so it's December 2024. We have to have everything under contract. It doesn't mean that the money has to be spent. We have an extra year to get through that process. But we have to have everything with your approval for contracts, board order numbers by the end of December 2024. And the way things are moving, it doesn't take us very long to get to that point. Right.
Madam Chair, just a
Yes.
quick question for Administrator Johnson, and yeah, I'm comfortable with the information is presented, and also I agree, Madam Chair, we need to look at other projects. Administrator Johnson, in regard to the satellite imagery, will we see that as a new layer on our county GIS soon or?
Well, it'll be up to Eli because he obviously oversees it, but I think the speed in which he is working, I would say yes to that. And it would
Okay.
actually be your base. He would start a new year with that information as he has done.
I believe the actual work is summer and that's
Okay,
better time weather-wise to be
Yeah.
doing that. So I think his plan was sometime this summer to try to get that done.
great. Yeah, just a comment. We've walked many people through trying to make them aware of our GIS
Right.
program, maps.co.lincoln. It's just a fantastic program. And having that detail, I think is going to be excellent.
I want to just share with you, and again, a compliment to county staff, and I mean this seriously. If you want to check to see how the quality of Lincoln County is in comparison to communities that are so much larger than us, go to the GIS systems of LA and King counties. LA, obviously, Los Angeles County and King County, Washington, and compare us with them. And I will tell you something. It is remarkable how we are in the presence of this exact same order of type of availability of our GIS systems. They've done just a tremendous job, and I don't think we have used that tool to the best of our efforts right now with our community and vendors and supporters of utilities. I think it's just us that just has to say, we have this tool now and it is
Yeah.
phenomenal.
No, agreed. And sometimes people are just astonished the amount of information
Yeah,
that's on our GIS, which really can save a constituent time and I think save
Exactly.
departments time for doling out the information that's right there online.
Right.
yeah. And you're going to see a
Very
staff report from me here that I will be working with you individually shortly that may have shown an error that was done on an economic development program, and that they did not use our GIS system. And when you go back and you use our GIS system, you can see where they made the mistake on a parcel number, and it constitutes a pretty big error. So kudos again to our county staff. Great job all the way around. And I think that once we get through this, I'd like to have them have a workshop with all of you that would identify this tool for you, and then also have that available to our community, citizenry, residents, businesses alike, so that they can have that as a almost like a tutorial. So they know how to use it.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah,
nice.
great.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then I
No.
take it this will come back on consent on
Is that
April the
okay?
5th. That's fine.
Okay, great. Back on consent of April then. All right,
Very good.
moving along to commissioner reports. Commissioner Hall, anything you'd like to report or?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Our ongoing quest to be added to the governor's executive order on homelessness. We submitted the formal request and cover letter last Thursday to the Oregon Office of Emergency Management, with the governor's office copied in. And I want to thank a lot of people for their work on that, but especially Dina Eldridge, the housing services person for Community Services Consortium, Woody Crowbar, the coordinator of the McKinney-Vento program at the school district, and Karen Rockwell, who's director of the Housing Authority and a project support consultant. Well, I wish I had an answer one way or the other, but it's still in the pipeline. OEM referred this to the Oregon Housing and Community Services for review. They requested some additional information, which was supplied. And now there is a request back from OHCS requesting a meeting to discuss these reports and the date in the request. So hopefully I've asked Dina if she could set up that meeting. So I'll say, I think I've said before with this, stay tuned.
So OHCS is the one that requested a meeting.
Yes,
Okay.
one of their assistant director of research.
Well, I hope that's a good sign.
I hope so
Yeah.
too, that we didn't just get kicked out unilaterally at the time of submission. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Miller, anything to report?
Oh, just, I thought I'd just flash on some of the legislative advocacy. I testified on Senate Bill 679 for the Oregon Coast Trail a couple of weeks ago. Also sent emails of support for House Bill 3567, and that's in regard to cannabis and nurses being able to discuss that with especially terminally ill patients. Fired off a couple of emails in regard to HB 3201-4 for broadband, and did follow up on a request for HB 543, 544, and 545, all in regard to kind of the recycling domain, and learned from Paul Seitz that we are a member of the Association of Recyclers, which supports all three of those. So that's all I have to report.
Great, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
I was just gonna say that after kind of a long process, as of today, Lincoln County does have a housing request for proposals up on our website.
Wonderful.
right.
This is not for a specific project. This is for ongoing consulting work related to both workforce, affordable, and market rate housing. So trying to get some developer consultants that can work with the county and our cities and our nonprofits to identify potential property for development, help us find funding sources for those potential developments. And also, we get a lot of correspondence from the public saying they have an idea for housing or a church that maybe is thinking about that. And we don't really have anybody other than planning that can say if it's a land use problem. We don't really have anyone to critically look at those and see if those are actually things that could be done. So that's part of the work plan as well. So that is up on our website, and proposals are due back the 14th of April. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd just add, the public can find those in How Do I? We have a section for RFPs, and then we have a section under 2023 news and activity with the RFP. Thank you, Geneva, for getting that done. And that's where you will find those online.
Great.
Excellent.
And we will be sending out a press release and stuff probably sometime today or tomorrow about
Okay.
that. So, all right, moving on to public comment. First, we'll start with just looking at our smart sheet forms. We had no written public comment this week. Okay, never mind. Moving on to online public comment. Do we have anybody virtually that would like to do public comment? If so, you can raise your virtual hand. It's like staff there. It's like more staff there. Okay. All right. I don't see anyone. And I think we do have someone that wants to do in-person public comment. Okay,
All
come on up.
right.
And if you could state your name for the record, public comment is limited to 3 minutes, and I think Commissioner Hall is the timekeeper today, so
Awesome.
welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leanna Rios. I am 16 and I'm a junior in high school. I have came and presented to you guys. It's been a little while, but I'm here to present to you about getting rid of styrofoam, single-use styrofoam in restaurants. So I'm working on my Girl Scout Gold Award, and my project is to work with the city councils and the county commissioners to get single-use styrofoam banned in restaurants. And so far, Lincoln City and Newport have passed an ordinance, and I think last week it was, Walport also passed the same one. So they all have the same ordinance. It's all worded the same. They just have their name on it. And so I was hoping maybe you guys would think about doing the same thing, being able to adopt the same ordinance and put your guys' names on it and help clean up our coast. Also, I'd like to invite you to my beach cleanup on April 29th. I did have a date change. It was the 22nd, but I'm going to be out of town that day. So we changed it to the 29th at Patterson Park from 10 a.m. to 1:30.
Excellent. Madam Chair, I would just add, Leanne, you have been working with Paul Seitz.
Yeah.
And getting some guidance there.
A little bit, yes.
Okay, okay. I would offer to keep working with Leanne and myself and see if maybe we can look at some of those ordinances and
Mhm.
propose those to the board.
Great, thank
Yeah.
you. I was gonna
Wonderful.
see if maybe someone could kind of be the lead on that. So thank
Okay.
you, Commissioner Miller. It looks like Commissioner Miller is
Awesome.
kind
Got
of
you.
will follow up with you. So do you have contact? Do you guys need to connect after the
We do.
meeting? You're
yeah.
good.
Yeah, we have
You're good.
contact.
Okay.
We're in.
All
We're
right,
in the
great.
know.
All right, well, thank you for your public comment today. It
Awesome.
looks like Commissioner Miller. will
Thank
follow
you.
up, so-
Be following up with you. Thank you.
Great,
Wonderful.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else that wants to provide a public comment today? Nope. Okay, well, so our next Board of Commissioners meeting, again, we're changing things up here. So we're meeting the first and third weeks. So our next Board of Commissioners regular meeting will be Wednesday, April 5th, 2023 at 10 a.m. And I will go ahead and call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.